Hey Taurus, welcome to your September intuitive reading. It's Romy. Thanks so much for tuning into the channel. So this is the soul story for Taurus sun, rising or moon sign. We'll be taking a look at the energy and astrological influences working with the tarot and connecting with my guides to give you a picture and hopefully some heads up as to what you can expect for this month ahead. If it resonates, please do go ahead, drop me a like and a comment. I really appreciate your support of my work, and let's jump right in, see what's coming up for you. Hey Taurus, okay, we're into Virgo season, fellow earth sign, which you are going to enjoy from an energy perspective, and it also lights up your fifth house of creativity, of the way that you are connecting into all things pleasurable in your life, to romance and children. And we have some beautiful, sweet earth trines happening this month with the outer planets that are moving through Capricorn. And what that means is that you're set to see some reward and recognition for, actually two cards came out here, so I'm just going to take them both. Reward and recognition for where you've been investing your energy, perhaps where you've had to be incredibly patient, the endurance race that you may have felt that you have been on, the flexibility or the tenacity that you've had to bring to bear. And September kind of gives us that opportunity to sort of reap the harvest a little bit of that, and certainly see the emergence of things that are going to help us to feel slightly more optimistic and really level us and ground us in a way that's going to be important as we move into the second wave of eclipses before the end of the year. So from October onwards, it's going to get a little bit intense again. So take this month of September to catch your breath. Now, we opened up your reading. Two cards wanted to come out side by side here, the Eight of Wands and the Six of Wands. Beautiful energies to open up with. And really just echoing what I've just said, it's almost the opportunity for you to start to feel a little bit more successful and see the momentum and the energy starting to move again. Now, to be honest, these arrows have been in motion for some time. It's perhaps just that you didn't get sight of them from a physical manifestation. And we know, Taurus, that what you really want is to see the real and the tangible. And that's absolutely what Virgo season wants to do for you. Okay, I think within that you are going to be redefining some priorities and realizing what matters, and you're also looking at some of the long-term impact of what's starting to show up. And so I want you to kind of look at September as still a month where you can make adjustments. And we've got the equinox coming in on the 22nd when we move into Libra season, which is into your sixth house of routines, of service, of the way that you want to show up and how you're taking care of things. And so there is this awareness that through the month you are going to want to allow that equilibrium to come in, and then realize what you have to change around that as well. Okay, so we've got some really nice recognition coming your way, news traveling towards you, giving you the opportunity to be seen, to step out. Now, Jupiter and Saturn are both moving direct. Jupiter moves direct on the 13th of the month, and the day before the Sun trines with Jupiter. So there's a really lucky, nice, favourable feel to what's happening at that moment. And really the opportunity for you to realize where you've made gains, a lot of that internalizing, introspective way that you've been working with this transit through your ninth house, philosophizing what things mean to you, getting a deeper perspective about, your own spiritual journey. And then it's almost like the floodgate opens when that happens. So expect to see a big breakthrough, some big strides forward, both on, your internal understanding, but also in terms of what's showing up around you, which is going to feel really sweet. Saturn then moves direct on the 29th of the month and really is inviting you to make sure that, you're doing things the right way this time, and that's where you're going to start to see really meaningful progress as well. So whatever area you're putting a focus on, and by that time we're going to be into Libra energy in your sixth house. So, taking care of your physical needs, your energies, the way that you want to show up to help others, but all of those routines and rituals that are so important to just helping you keep a balance and not leak and drain your energy. Now, be prepared that, on the same day, we've also got the second of three confrontations between Mars and Saturn. The first one was the 24th of August. You might just want to remind yourself about what was going on around that time, because you're going to be meeting that energy again at the end of September and then in January of 21. The other big news this month is that Mars moves retrograde. Now, we're already in the shadow of that. So Mars is in Aries right now, working through your 12th house. And on the 9th of the month, right through to the 14th of November, he's going to be taking a backspin. So that could be quite an interesting time for you when you feel like everything is just about to get going. And all of a sudden, you're hit with this energy of the Hermit coming in, where you're being almost plunged back into the darkness, so to speak, to review and reflect and introspect and sort of take some guidance from what's happening within you. And you know, there's an important process that's in place here, okay? So you might find that it gives you a little bit of a battle internally as you try to kind of unravel the push-pull energy between just saying, okay, like I'm really seeing where the energy is flowing and I want to put all of my focus and attention here and I really want to ride the wave. And then there's something about, well, let's not miss this step here. We just need to focus and we need to kind of bring all of our energy back home and we need to be quiet and we need to be still. So expect that to sort of play out a little bit through this month, but because we've got Jupiter and Saturn moving direct, I think it's going to balance itself out favorably for you in terms of what I'm picking up and how I'm feeling into this for you, all right? But just be prepared with that Hermit energy, that there is something, and the snake to me is almost representative of just like a little cautionary note that, you know, perhaps if there was one thing you were avoiding or that you hadn't dealt with, you're set to have to return to that, okay? But that's not a bad thing, because what it's going to do is just peel back another layer for you, Taurus, and that's going to be really important just in terms of the way that you release something so that you can transcend, and you're actually going to make like a huge leap forward once you come out of that Mars retrograde energy because of the fact that you've taken the time to do this. Now, the Hermit does link in also to a Virgo sign, Earth energy. If you are experiencing perhaps a slightly detached or emotionally avoidant energy in and around you at the moment, I kind of feel like you're going to be a little bit too busy with stuff that you've got going on for yourself right now. And there is this invitation to say, do you know what? You need to be figuring out what your medicine is rather than trying to, you know, force or get involved or kind of try and push the energy in another area that just isn't really flowing, because that's one of the things that Mars retrograde is really advising us of. You know, it's a great time to focus in on the priorities and figure out what matters, and actually just work things that are doing well for you. So here we have the card of Justice coming in, again just linking into that very Libra energy we're moving into, and the equinox that I think is just going to help to give you an absolutely different perspective about something. I also see you playing the peacekeeper somewhere, perhaps not directly in a one-to-one scenario. I'm kind of picking up this could be more in a group environment, so within a wider family context, perhaps connected to your children if you have any, with that 5th house being lit up. But for others, it could well be in and around some aspect of work, okay? So I see you being able to hold the energy and hold the space so that, you know, some of that volatility and anger and disruption that Mars can certainly bring to bear isn't infiltrating your energy first and foremost, but also anything that you've worked really hard to create and to try to get moving and allow to start flowing, okay? So I think that you are going to be quite protective. And I think that's the other thing. It's almost like your Hermit here is standing as a little bit of a protector against all of the work that you've done and invested into something. And you know, you're not prepared to allow anyone or anything to come in and get in the way of that. And the way that you choose to do that is coming from a much higher expression. And, you know, I'm seeing you kind of almost just being very fair, being very, you know, non-judgmental, but also very firm and assertive. And I think that that's going to be important as some people come at you or tend to project towards you their perhaps there's slight insecurity or disruption in terms of their own energy field, yeah? So you need to pay some close attention to how that's coming in for you. So there are contracts possibly being signed for some of you, legal things that are coming to bear. You know, Mars retrograde doesn't tend to be the best time to initiate anything from a legal perspective. That said, when I'm looking in and around the energies for you, Taurus, it feels quite favourable. So what I would say to you is, if there are things that you have already set in motion and it feels like the doors are opening and there's a green light, then I would continue down that road. You're set to receive and to do very well from that. I think if you're trying to come at something that's almost at a standstill point and there's not really any energy moving, and it's almost coming from a place of cold. I know it might sound a bit strange, cold versus like what feels warm, but just kind of keep that in mind, because I think you're going to feel that energetically, and that's going to make a difference as to whether you see something coming to a successful conclusion in terms of any legal aspects of things, okay? The Nine of Cups is nice because what I'm seeing with this, and I'm looking at the barrels that are stood behind this figure, and I'm seeing this idea of you being able to harvest. So you've got more than enough. There's a feeling of being satiated. So whether that's coming from, you know, new income streams, new abundance that you're storing up, whether that's because you've really charged your own energy, you've given yourself some time and space to breathe. And, you know, I think in fifth house energy, what we're always invited to do is have more time for play, more time for figuring out those things that just feel really pleasurable to us, that connect to our inner child. And so it feels to me that you figured out some sense of balance around that, Taurus, and now what you're able to do is kind of fully fill your cup and then start to help others, because you're coming at a place of just feeling really grounded and secure within who you are. I also feel with regards to this is that if you have had experiences from a relationship perspective where people have slightly been emotionally detached or avoidant, there is set to be some real sweetness returning, and again a gush or a rush of energy of somebody sort of wanting to say how they feel, or perhaps that's you towards them after having a period of just reflection and introspection that was necessary. On the 6th of the month, Venus moves into the sign of Leo and lights up your 4th house of home and family. And I do feel that that invitation to kind of be able to communicate and express yourself is going to be, it's going to be more well understood and received from the people around you. I think that placement as well, I'm also just kind of getting a vibe that some of you may look to start an income stream from home. There's a lot about working from home, starting businesses from home, or kind of like setting something up that will be running from a place that you also spend a lot of time in. So there's a lot to do with like work and locations that I'm picking up in and around that as well. And I think that you're just perhaps even, you know, looking at 2 different locations or 2 different premises for something. But I feel that if you have got a strong vision and it's really connecting into your heart space, which is what that 5th house lights up for you, I'm getting a lot of real positive energy around this, okay? So we are being reminded that there are no coincidences happening this month for you, okay? Everything is very serendipitous, including all conversations, including everything that you hear. There's something about the listening, you know, and maybe it's just in passing, maybe it's just something that you hear as you walk past someone having a conversation, or you just hear something on the radio or catch something just before it finishes on the TV. It's almost just like you hear it just at the time that you're meant to. That's what I'm picking up, okay? Now this offer that seems to be coming your way is interesting. It is interesting. However, what I'm going to say to you is that you've got quite a lot on your plate already, okay? You've got a lot on your plate already. And what you don't want to do is to dilute your energy and to become too scattered and lose your focus, because it's really easy with Mars retrograde to feel like we've all of a sudden overcommitted ourselves, we've overpromised, and then we start to move into that overwhelm, and then we kind of lose motivation and almost lose the reason why we started something or we wanted to do something in the first instance. Okay, so however that might play out for you, just be aware if you've found this really sweet spot of balance and things are working quite well for you. And I know, because I have the tendency to do this as well, is like as soon as you just have a little bit more energy and you're kind of okay again, it's like, right, okay, now I need to fill the space, now I need to take on something else. And you're being invited to just pause, take a nice deep breath, and really think about whether that's the right thing for you this month, okay? Because what we're trying to do is completely redefine the way that we're working, the way that we're living, what our priorities are. And really, more than that, Taurus, it's about honouring all of the changes and everything that you've been through. You know, and I know you've had some really difficult emotional journeys to navigate, and they've taught you a lot about who you want to surround yourself with, the right approach for things, you know, where like you've given too much, where there's been too much of a lack and it's put you into a very yearning kind of an energy. So all of these things that you've worked through and been dealing with on your own soul journey. And I know that Hermit's brought in some deep, deep wisdom. And again, he's kind of almost illuminating that snake as this cautionary, be careful. You know, this might not be all that it seems. It might be a little bit shiny object syndrome, and it could just derail all of the hard work or the effort that you put in somewhere, okay? Now, if this is coming in on a relationship level for some of you, maybe it's just like you just back on track with something and then there's another offer or someone else showing interest. So, you know, just be aware. I guess it's time to really take stock and to figure out what's important and what it is that you are really looking for and whether your needs are being met. And that's a great time to do that when we're working with that 5th house energy, as we consider the way that we want romance to be a part of our life, you know, how desire is showing up and how we're expressing it, you know. Okay, we've got the card of the strength coming in here. It does link into the sign of Leo, so perhaps that is relevant for some of you. What I'm looking at here is that she's gazing up towards the stars. I'm thinking, you know, in some quite deep contemplation, but for me it's also sort of reminding me of all of that 9th house energy of the Capricorn placement that you've been working with all year, Taurus. And because we're seeing Jupiter and Saturn moving direct in the 9th house, there's this big burst of energy about movement forward. And what you've gained, what you've learned, I know it's taken its toll and it's had to make you dig deep in different areas of your life. And, you know, perhaps there was some real doubt around whether to continue or, you know, how to really make it through at some point. But here you are, you know, you've kind of tamed the lion. You've really been able to find some place of acceptance within yourself. And from that, you have endured more than you thought you were capable of, and that's turning into this deep, deep, profound wisdom. But now you're looking for what comes next, and the answer to that is absolutely coming from that higher divine connection that you have established. And again, I just want to return to the fact that Mars retrograde in the 12th, that deeply metaphysical, spiritual part of our chart is really being lit up. And so the invitation to dig deeper into your subconscious during that transit, to really reveal something and have a profound breakthrough, is shown very, very strongly. And I think that there's almost this moment of dropping or letting go of some part of your ego self, which sometimes shows up for me with that 6 of Wands, and really looking for something much deeper and more enriching in your life. And I think that's going to make sense to a lot of you as you feel like a lack of resonance through this month of September to things that you used to really enjoy or to people that you used to want to be around. You know, I just think that you've moved on and that there has been quite a shift in your energy. And it's about recognizing that and actually honoring it, and not just returning into the default comfort zone because perhaps things are starting to move back into like a place of, well, I guess a new normal, yeah, not really like what they were, but you know, there can be a tendency to try to sort of slip back into that. Now, the Five of Pentacles demonstrates to me that I think you've got some people who are really feeling like you owe them something. That's kind of what I'm picking up with this energy. It's almost like they're sort of looking towards you, and here I have you kind of looking off to the distance and just came like, I've earned this. And you know, and you're I've earned this could be in terms of the abundance, the financial security that you've obtained for yourself. It could just be the growth and the work that you've done on yourself. It might be the way that you've been able to reimagine your life and make some really major changes in it. But that's come from hard blood, sweat and tears, you know? And yet here I have, you know, people or a person that is in and around you kind of expecting, without having really honoured or you know, valuing necessarily what you've put in, and just feeling like they're entitled or deserving of something, okay? So I just think be a little bit prepared as to where that might be showing up. You know, someone who wants to kind of jump on your coattails, so to speak. And, you know, perhaps this is someone in the past who you really did value or you were inspired by, but there's just something now I feel about moving away, letting go. But this is also for me the reminder, and it's interesting because I'm kind of seeing like a mouse or a rat here, and I'm seeing the same one here in the Nine of Cups as well. So I kind of want to say there's some link here, and I just think that if you feed this from a place of like, yeah, I've got more than enough, of course I'm going to be generous, because you know, there's that quality that you know, you want to be inclusive. I just think, remember that it's almost like it will never be enough. That's the kind of vibe that I get. It's just like you can enable something within someone because you and feel like you're doing a good deed. But there's something here that's sort of saying to me, you know, if you just keep feeding that person and they don't learn how to do it for themselves, then you're not really helping their spiritual growth. You're not really allowing them to unearth and discover what they need to within themselves. And so this is about you following your true north and understanding what's next in the path, and just allowing anyone or anything that isn't able to meet with your vibration right now. And that isn't, you know, coming from a place of being cruel. It really isn't. It's just about recognizing that, you know, this equinox energy is coming in to rebalance everything. And so what you're now needing in terms of your own energy, your own future, might not be something that this person or this environment can deliver anymore. And you know, one thing that's certain is that everything constantly is in a state of flux and change. And for you to be able to move forward and really start to embody everything that you've learned, Taurus, I think there's going to come a moment through September where you perhaps do need to make a difficult decision as to moving away from something or cutting something off, maybe cutting someone off, you know. That's kind of the vibe that I get for it. I'll also say that if you have been struggling or found yourself, you know, perhaps moving through some energy of just feeling a little bit lack, you know, and that could just be a lack of confidence, a lack of belief in yourself. Perhaps you have been hit really hard from a financial perspective. Again, you've got that strength and energy coming through. Justice is coming in from a karmic perspective to say, you know, what is the lesson here, Taurus? What can you take from this? Because here's the other interesting thing that I'm picking up for this month of September is that actually a lot of things that felt extraordinarily harsh and very difficult and stressful for us in the last few weeks and months, in September are set to reveal a gift or a blessing. Now, it might not be that direct thing, but there could be a byproduct, something that came from that challenge, thing that you can now really move into a state of gratitude and appreciation, because actually what it's delivered has really helped to tap into something that you were wanting or seeking or looking for. And I think that this is one of the ways that we're about to recognize on a whole new level the way that the universe works with such intricacy in terms of our soul contracts and how they get weaved in with each other's, and how we can still receive all of that which we seek, when we are willing to do the work and keep showing up and processing and allowing ourselves to move higher and become more consciously awake. So I think that there is that recognition that where you have perhaps struggled, there are going to be some nice blessings that, again, you should see some notable gains coming up through this month for you. Okay, so the new moon in Virgo is coming in on the 17th, and the sun trines with Saturn at the same time. So really lovely time again to be seeing some recognition and reward, to be looking at almost reaffirming something powerfully to yourself. And we've got the Ace of Wands coming in. I love that energy for you, sparking something deep within you. Again, like we said, maybe not always the best time to launch during a Mars retrograde, but that said, if it's already something you've been working on, get the green light and go for it. As long as you have kind of dealt with whether this is coming up within you or whether it's representative of another person or situation, because you don't want to carry that energy into this new initiative, this new pathway. There's no place for it here. You've come too far, you've learned too much, okay? The fire from that Ace of Wands is needed to help ignite that internal flame, and remember, 5th house reminds us, where do we find pleasure in our life? What does that mean to you? Where does it come from? And if it's really lacking, and if you feel that, right, there's nowhere that I'm getting that sense of feeling really fulfilled, or my heart's like wide open, I've got that beautiful kundalini energy, my sacral chakra's all lit up, then this is the time where you're going to be planning and putting things into place to make sure that you create space for that. And that's where all of your wisdom has come from, the Hermit. And perhaps that's even the recognition of, the snake here is also about the transformation, the shedding of a skin, and allowing yourself to say, all right, what do I have now within me? And, what else am I seeking? What do I want to bring in? So I love the the kind of initiation of that Ace of Wands, that beautiful potential that you're going to be working with through September. And remember, it is a month where you're supposed to enjoy some sacred rest. You're supposed to catch your breath. You're supposed to just start to reorientate the way that you're looking at things, and allow these big planets to be moving and shifting in their transit, and sort of seeing where it lands for you, and just paying close attention, like listening and observing. There's a very observatory role that's coming in. Don't get me wrong, we've definitely got some powerful flow and some inspired action that I'm seeing taking place. And news traveling towards you that I think could feel really positive. I think something that you've been waiting for perhaps for a long time, set to come in, okay? But just be aware there's going to be these moments of what feel like deep introspection, or you just need to take a step back from everything, just to kind of figure out what your true feelings are on a matter. And I think you're just going to be called to do that at such a deep soul level that it'll almost be it'll feel almost out with your control, like somebody, or something at a whole different energy level is just calling you to kind of move away or take some time out. And it might just be a day or two, or just a little bit of downtime, but I think it's going to be so important and valuable in terms of what comes out of it. So don't discount it, okay? If you are feeling in any way that sense of apathy or inertia creeping in, which again can happen with that Mars, retrograde energy, and particularly the 12th house, because it can be quite exhausting and working at such a deep level that you can just feel like you want to cocoon and hermit. Don't worry, again, the energy is going to start sparking and moving and lighting up again really favorably. And I think, again, I want to draw your attention in around that 22nd when the equinox takes place, okay? So let's go ahead and just see how these oracle cards are reflecting your main reading. Earth magic. Beautiful. So it's a perfect card for you, Taurus, and also the fact that we're in Virgo season here. You know, be aware of the importance of just rooting and grounding your energy, of the whole energy management process that you put in place, and particularly as we move into Libra season, that wants you to pay very close attention. So I think the more you are aware of grounding and just how you're earthing yourself, that's going to be incredibly important when it comes into this Ace of Wands, because I'm looking at this being number one and the Ace kind of the beginning of something. So you have to start as you mean to go on. You have to make sure that the energetic foundation that you're putting in place before you instigate or set off with something is really wrapped in a very positive light, because what you're sending out in that moment is going to be coming back at you. So wherever this is playing out, relationships in your business, within the family environment, just be very aware of your thought forms and how you're feeling, you know, from a physical perspective, how connected you feel. Anytime you want to, you know, communicate something, send something out, put it out on social media, launch, connect with a client, doesn't matter. Just be really aware of doing that kind of energy ritual to make sure that you're nice and grounded. Yeah, our feet are such powerful energy centers for us to receive that sustenance from the earth. Okay, and you know, again, Venus moving into Leo in your fourth house, you know, Venus is all things comfort and, you know, abundant and feeling good and feeling emotionally secure and safe. And fourth house activates that need for us to feel safe within ourselves and our, you know, close family environment. And so, you know, maybe there's going to be some close attention, like really close to home in terms of how this plays out for you as well. Okay. The fact that she's kind of standing almost, not with both feet on the ground, suggests to me that there is this moment where you're about to set off as well, but there's almost a bit of a playful quality that I pick up with this as well, a little bit of a playful quality, which is nice with the fifth house. So I'm also going to say to you, just anticipate some lightness, and perhaps for some of you that's going to come in and around the idea of romance or something that feels incredibly fun, and make sure that you're saying yes to that. You know, don't get too serious or too caught up in like trying to achieve this month. It is meant to be a time where you let things flow towards you, and you're not the one that's like nose to the grindstone and trying to force anything. That's not the way to work with the energy right now. Okay, so let's take a look at these crystal oracle cards, see what's coming through. Amazonite. Beautiful. So Amazonite links in powerfully to our courage, you know. So if you are digging deep and needing to demonstrate that level of courage because you want to try something different, do something new, reveal a new identity, show up in a different way, deal with a particularly tricky situation, navigate anything legally, draw more powerful energy towards anything that you're doing in terms of your career or your work, Amazonite is a fantastic stone to work with. I love the energy of this. It's incredibly powerful for women, particularly when you're looking to find that high level of self-esteem and belief and that kind of real warrior. Now, with Mars and Aries, we are dealing with that warrior energy, aren't we? When it goes retrograde, it's about the peaceful warrior. And actually, the face in the Amazonite here, her eyes are closed. The third eye chakra is illuminated here as well. So it's about drawing on that internal power and strength, which really links into the strength card that's shown up for you here as well. But for me, I think is helping to draw in levels of security to make you feel more accomplished and believing in everything that you're setting your mind to and how you're setting your store out. Yeah, so on an emotional level, on a financial level, in terms of your health and well-being. So if you don't have this stone, you can just harness and invite the energy to come in and around you. But yeah, it's a beautiful one to be working with. And of course the green connects into, you know, that earth magic, but also into the heart space, to the heart chakra. And that's what we're working with fifth house energy. So perfect crystal energy for you, I think, this month, Taurus. Okay. So your yogic oracle card is Yamas, beautiful. And I love how serene the image of this is right now. It's almost just like this whole path lit up with like flower petals, and look at the light. I mean, she's in such a state of peace and connection here, and your eye is just inextricably drawn towards the light. And you know, she's sitting in such a beautiful open yogic position here, so there's the reminder of just taking time to be in that sacred space and allowing yourself to just flow toward that connection to the divine. And I think you're going to need this just to charge yourself up, okay? Just to make sure that, you know, you're not being derailed or disrupted by anyone or anything that's going on around you. But I also just see this as such a recognition of the beauty. And again, with that 5th house, where our creativity, and it's just like having things around you that make you feel good, you know, surrounding yourself with things that inspire you, that aesthetically please you, that just make you feel more like yourself, and that you're in an environment that reflects who you are, and that in that space you can actually really tap into something deeper and more spiritual within you. So yeah, it's just like a really beautiful, peaceful energy that I get in and around this. And I think just the reminder to take that time, but also to surround yourself with things that just feel really soul soothing and gentle for you, okay? So this is a general reading, Taurus, and make sure you do check in with it just as the month progresses, because, you know, for each of you on your very individual soul contract, some of these messages and insights will resonate in very different ways and at different times. And, you know, timing isn't linear, so some of this might have already started to come into fruition, and for some of you, you know, this is what you're going to start to see emerging through this month of September, okay? But what we're going to do right now is just pull some additional cards for our extended version. If you want to join me for that, there's a link in the description and the comment section underneath. And I'd invite you now just to think about a question that I may not have answered or that hasn't come up in the main spread here. And we'll pull a couple of cards specifically on it for you now, okay? Perfect. And now we'll just go ahead and clarify this main 9-card spread so we can unearth some deeper messages in the extended. Okay, so here we've got the Queen of Cups. So it could be a water sign, a Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces energy that is connected to where this energy is starting to move, where there's messages, communication coming. A lot of deeply intuitive feelings around this. I think there's a sense of you knowing what's coming or what's happening in and around this. 5 of Cups, so maybe there has been a setback or some disappointment or some loss around this, but we'll dive into that a little bit more. Uncertainty here, a decision or a choice that you need to make around something, and needing to take some time. Remember, like 4 of Swords really linking into the quiet introspection. Communication, getting your ideas out there, the expression, the publication of things is also showing up. 2 pages coming through here. Again, could be connected into some children, but also lots of news and information, I think, being available to you that previously I think has been held back. You've got Card of Strength coming up again, so maybe there is a Leo energy that's important, or something that's transpired during Leo season, okay? 3 of Cups coming in here with the Hermit and the Emperor. There's this feeling in September that we're just trying to get our house in order, you know, with things. And the emergence of that Emperor energy is going to be supportive of that for you. Ace of Wands coming up, and another 4 of Cups. You know, I think I'm getting the sense that there are people that are feeling they know what's best for you and they've got plans in place for you, but I'm just not sure it's really what you want. Okay, Card of the Devil here could be connected into a Capricorn energy. Devil in the 7 does suggest a little bit of sneakiness that's going on here, and this is going to play out in different ways on the internal and external. We'll go into that in a bit more detail. And the extended King of Wands coming up here. fire sign, Aries, Sagittarius or Leo. A lot of healing energy coming through here as well. That Five of Pentacles bringing through Tower energy, so kind of just feel like I want to be avoidant of that in a way. A lot of emotions coming up in and around that situation when it comes up. Look at this though, burst of energy, the Sun, the Ace, lovely. You have a lot of people showing up in your reading this month, so yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Okay, we've got the Hermit coming through again, and then finally Nine of Pentacles. It comes up a lot for you, Taurus. Love that. Okay, so thank you so much. I wish you bright blessings for this month of September. Really appreciate you tuning into the channel. Let me know how this resonates. Drop me a like and a comment, and if you're joining me for the extended, I look forward to doing that now. All right, take care.